My name is Paula Henderson, and I'm 29 years old. Right now, I'm standing in my childhood bedroom, staring at an empty picture frame that used to hold a photo of me and my younger sister, Emma. She took it down last month, right around the time she stopped returning my calls. I should have seen it coming, the way siblings always know when something's shifting beneath the surface, but I was too busy being the dependable older sister to notice I was being played. 6 months ago, I did something I thought would bring us closer. I paid for Emma's entire wedding. Not a contribution, not a generous gift, the whole thing. $73,000. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Every cent came from the savings I'd been building since I was 22, working double shifts as a nurse practitioner, skipping vacations, driving the same beat-up Honda for 8 years. I did it because she called me crying one night, saying she and her fiancé couldn't afford the wedding they'd always dreamed of, and Mom and Dad were already stretched thin helping with their mortgage. She said she'd pay me back slowly, that she just needed help getting started. I believed her. I always believed her. But 3 days ago, I sent her a simple text. Hey Em, getting excited for the wedding next month. Do you need help with any last-minute stuff? Her response came 2 hours later, casual as a weather update. Oh, we had it last week. It was beautiful. Sorry, things got hectic and I forgot to mention it. Forgot to mention it. Like she forgot to pick up milk, not that she excluded me from the wedding I funded. I sat there reading that message over and over, waiting for the follow-up, the explanation, the apology that never came. Instead, 3 laughing emojis appeared, followed by, "You're not mad, are you?" It was super intimate, just close friends. You understand. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too hard to type. The worst part wasn't even the exclusion. It was scrolling through social media that same evening and seeing the photos. Emma in a stunning lace gown, the one we picked together at the bridal shop where I put down the deposit. The reception at Riverside Manor, the venue I toured with her on my day off. The flower arrangements, the live band, the dessert bar shaped like a cascading waterfall, everything I'd approved and paid for, filled with faces I didn't recognize. Our cousin Jennifer was there. Our Aunt Carol. Even Emma's college roommate who she claimed to have lost touch with. But not me. Not the person who made it all possible. In one photo, Emma was laughing with our mother, who apparently didn't forget to mention the date change either. That's when it hit me. This wasn't an oversight. It was a choice. I spent that first night replaying every conversation we'd had over the past 6 months. The venue tours where she gushed about how perfect everything was. The menu tastings where she insisted I try the salmon because, "You're basically a guest of honor." The dress fittings where she hugged me and whispered, "I couldn't do this without you." Every word now felt like a script she'd been reading, keeping me invested while planning to cut me out entirely. I didn't sleep. I just sat there in the dark, watching the ceiling fan spin, feeling something inside me harden with each rotation. By morning, I wasn't sad anymore. I was done. I waited 2 days before I did anything. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because I wanted to be absolutely certain that Emma wasn't going to reach out with an explanation, an apology, something that would make sense of what she'd done. But my phone stayed silent except for the occasional notification of her posting more wedding photos, each one a fresh reminder that I'd been erased from a day I'd made possible. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. On the 3rd morning, I opened my laptop and started going through every receipt, every contract, every payment confirmation I'd saved. The venue deposit, $12,000. The catering, $18,000. The photographer, $5,000. The flowers, the music, the cake, the rentals, it was all there, documented and stamped with my name, my card, my signature. I'd been meticulous about keeping records because Emma had promised to pay me back in installments starting 3 months after the wedding. Now those documents felt less like planning and more like evidence. I drafted an email. Short, professional, stripped of any emotion that might make me look unstable or vindictive. Emma, I hope you and Daniel enjoyed your wedding. As we discussed, I'd like to begin setting up the repayment plan we agreed upon. Please let me know when you're available to finalize the details. The total amount is $73,000. I've attached all receipts for your reference. Best, Paula. I read it 5 times before sending it, making sure there was nothing she could twist or use against me. Then I hit send and waited. Her response came within an hour, and it was somehow worse than I'd imagined. Paula, seriously? You're really going to make this about money? I thought you paid for the wedding as a gift. You never said anything about paying you back. This feels really manipulative and honestly kind of desperate. I'm disappointed in you. I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding in my ears. She was rewriting history in real time, turning my generosity into a weapon against me. I took a screenshot of our original text conversation from 6 months ago, the one where she explicitly said, "I'll pay you back, I promise, just need a couple years to get on our feet." I attached it to my response. Emma, here's our conversation where you promised repayment. I have more if needed. This was never a gift. It was a loan, and you knew that. I expect the first payment by the end of next month, or I'll be forced to take further steps. I sent it before I could second-guess myself. This time, she didn't reply. But 20 minutes later, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was strained, walking that careful line between peacemaker and defender. "Paula, honey, Emma just called me very upset. She says you're demanding money from her right after her wedding. Is that really necessary right now? Can't this wait?" I closed my eyes, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom, did you know she wasn't going to invite me to the wedding?" There was a pause, too long, too telling. "Well, she said it was a very small ceremony, and she didn't want you to feel obligated to spend more money on travel and a gift. She was trying to be considerate." Considerate. The word landed like a slap. I paid for the entire wedding, Mom. $73,000. And she didn't even tell me it was happening. You were there. You knew, and neither of you thought I deserved to know. My mother sighed, that familiar sound of exhaustion she used when she didn't want to choose sides. "Paula, you know how Emma is. She gets overwhelmed. She probably just didn't want to hurt your feelings." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. Well, mission failed. Before she could respond, I ended the call. That night, I started looking into small claims options, consulting limits, legal avenues for recovering money from family. I didn't want it to come to that, but I also wasn't going to let Emma bury this under excuses and emotional manipulation. I'd spent my whole life being the responsible one, the one who fixed things, who sacrificed so everyone else could be comfortable. Not anymore. This time, I was going to make sure every dollar I spent had a name attached to it, and that name was going to follow her until she made it right. The silence from Emma lasted exactly 4 days. No apology, no explanation, just radio silence while I watched her post honeymoon photos from a beach resort in Mexico. Cabo San Lucas, to be exact, a place she'd told me 6 months ago was way out of budget when I asked if they were planning a honeymoon. Apparently, $73,000 freed up enough cash for an all-inclusive week at a 5-star resort. I screenshot every post, every geotag, every smiling photo of her and Daniel holding tropical drinks with little umbrellas. Not because I was jealous, but because I was building a timeline of lies. While she was sipping margaritas on my dime, I was sitting at my kitchen table with a legal pad, writing down every conversation, every promise, every moment she'd looked me in the eye and assured me this was temporary. I remembered the bridal shop, how she'd cried when she found the dress, saying she never thought she'd afford something so beautiful. I remembered co-signing the venue contract because her credit wasn't strong enough. I remembered her squeezing my hand at the cake tasting, whispering, "You're the best sister anyone could ask for." Every memory now felt like a transaction I'd been too naive to recognize. On day 5, I received a text from my father. Paula, your mother told me what's going on. I think you should let this go. Family is more important than money. Emma's young and made a mistake. Don't let pride ruin your relationship with your sister. I read it 3 times, waiting for the part where he acknowledged what Emma had actually done, but it never came. Pride. As if wanting basic honesty and respect was somehow a character flaw. I typed back, Dad, she didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. There's a difference. He didn't respond. That same afternoon, Emma's best friend, a woman named Chloe who I'd met twice, sent me a direct message on social media. Hey Paula, I know things are tense right now, but Emma is really hurt by how you're acting. She thought you'd be happy for her. Maybe you should think about why you're really upset. Is it about the money, or is it about something deeper? The audacity of it actually made me laugh out loud. A stranger, someone who had no idea what I'd sacrificed, was now trying to psychoanalyze me on behalf of the person who'd betrayed me. I didn't respond to Chloe. I blocked her instead. I was done explaining myself to people who had already decided I was the villain. But then I found something that changed everything. I was going through my email, looking for the final invoice from the florist, when I stumbled across a forwarded message I'd sent to Emma months ago. It was from the wedding planner, confirming the guest count and seating arrangements. Emma had replied at the time with, "Looks perfect. Can't wait for you to walk me down the aisle since Dad's back is still acting up." Walk me down the aisle. I'd completely forgotten about that. She'd asked me to give her away because our father had been dealing with chronic pain and wasn't sure he'd be able to stand that long. I'd been honored, emotional even, thinking about how much that moment would mean. But when I looked at the wedding photos again, scrolling carefully through each one, there he was. My father, standing tall and healthy, walking Emma down the aisle with a proud smile on his face. So his back was fine. He just didn't want me there either. The realization sat heavy in my chest, not like sadness but like clarity. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about a miscommunication or wedding stress. It was about my entire family deciding I was useful until I wasn't, and then erasing me the moment I'd served my purpose. I saved that email. I saved the photos. I saved everything, because if they wanted to pretend I was overreacting, I was going to make sure the facts spoke louder than their excuses. That night, I contacted a lawyer. The lawyer's name was Mitchell Brennan, a family law attorney who'd handled a few cases at the hospital where I worked. He listened without interrupting as I walked him through everything, the texts, the emails, the receipts, the wedding I wasn't invited to. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said something I wasn't expecting. "You have a solid case, but I need to ask you something first. Are you prepared for what this will do to your family?" I didn't hesitate. My family already made their choice. He nodded slowly, then started outlining my options. Small claims court had a limit of $10,000 in our state, but I could file a civil suit for the full amount based on breach of verbal contract and unjust enrichment. It would take time, maybe a year, and it would be public record. Everyone would know. Good, I said. Let them know. Mitchell drafted a formal demand letter that week. It was 3 pages long, citing every payment, every promise, every piece of evidence that proved Emma had agreed to repay me. The letter gave her 30 days to respond with a repayment plan, or I would proceed with filing a lawsuit. He sent it certified mail, requiring a signature. I knew the moment it arrived because my phone exploded. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails from my mother, my father, even my Aunt Carol who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. But nothing from Emma. Not a single word. Instead, she posted a vague status on social media. It's sad when people show their true colors. Choose kindness, always. The comments flooded in from people who had no idea what was happening. You deserve better. Family should support you. Stay strong, Queen. I wanted to scream. My mother showed up at my apartment unannounced 3 days later. She looked tired, older somehow, and she didn't wait for an invitation before walking in. "Paula, you need to stop this. You're tearing this family apart over money. Is that really what you want your legacy to be? I crossed my arms, staying calm even though my heart was racing. Mom, my legacy was supposed to be helping my sister have the wedding of her dreams. She turned it into a joke. My mother's face softened, but not with understanding, with pity. Honey, Emma didn't mean to hurt you. She's just not good with confrontation. You know how she is. She panicked and made a bad decision, but she loves you. I shook my head. If she loved me, she would have invited me. If she loved me, she would have told the truth. This isn't about confrontation, Mom. It's about respect, and she has none for me. My mother tried a different angle, her voice dropping to something gentler, more pleading. What if we work out a payment plan as a family? Your father and I could help her pay you back over time. Would that be enough? For a second, I almost considered it. Almost let the exhaustion of fighting win. But then I remembered the beach photos, the lies, the way everyone had closed ranks around her while I stood alone. No, Mom. This is between me and Emma. If she wants to make it right, she knows where to find me. My mother left without another word, and I locked the door behind her, feeling the weight of what I'd just done. I wasn't just standing up to my sister anymore. I was standing up to all of them. Emma finally responded on day 28, 2 days before the deadline. Not with an apology or a repayment plan, but with a counteroffer sent through her own lawyer. She proposed paying me back $15,000 over 5 years, claiming that was all she could reasonably afford. It wasn't even a quarter of what she owed, and the timeline was deliberately insulting. Mitchell advised me to reject it, and I did without hesitation. We filed the lawsuit the next week. The court date was set for 3 months later, and in that time, my family stopped speaking to me entirely. No holiday invitations, no birthday calls, nothing. My mother sent one final text. I hope you realize what you've lost over this. I read it once and didn't reply, because I hadn't lost anything. I'd simply stopped pretending that being family meant accepting disrespect. The day of the hearing, I walked into that courtroom alone, and Emma sat on the other side with Daniel, my parents, and her lawyer. She wouldn't look at me. The judge reviewed the evidence, the text messages, the receipts, the email where she'd promised repayment. It took less than an hour for him to rule in my favor. Full repayment of $73,000, plus court costs and interest, to be paid over 3 years with automatic wage garnishment if she defaulted. Emma's face went pale. My father shook his head in disgust. My mother cried softly into a tissue. I felt nothing but relief. Outside the courthouse, Emma finally spoke to me. Her voice was small, bitter. I hope you're happy now. You got your money, and you destroyed our family. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I didn't recognize the person standing in front of me anymore. I didn't destroy anything, Emma. You did that the moment you decided I didn't matter. Then I walked away, and I didn't look back. 6 months later, I used part of the first payment to take myself on a trip to Italy, something I'd always wanted to do but kept putting off. I wandered through Rome, ate pasta in small trattorias, and watched the sunset over the Colosseum without anyone to answer to. I realized something important there. I didn't need my family's approval to know my worth. I just needed to stop giving pieces of myself to people who saw me as a resource instead of a person. Sometimes the hardest thing you'll ever do is choose yourself, but it's also the most freeing. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.